please be seated. Well, Your Royal Highness, my lords, fellows, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to welcome you all here on this landmark occasion for the Royal Academy of Engineering. Today, His Royal Highness, our Senior Fellow, will officially open Prince Philip House, our engineering forum and the Academy's newly refurbished home. Many of you present have made this forum for engineering possible through your generous gifts and donations, and I want to express our deep sense of gratitude to you all, and I trust you're indeed proud of what you see. The idea for a National Engineering Academy was conceived in the late 1960s, fueled by the excitement of the Apollo program and the buzz of Harold Wilson's white heat of technology. The Fellowship of Engineering, as it was known at that time, was officially launched in 1976, the year of Concorde's first commercial flight. It was created on the initiative of His Royal Highness, the Duke of Edinburgh, who was president of the then Council of Engineering Institutions. And it was you, sir, who presided over the inaugural meeting of the Fellowship at Buckingham Palace, along with 129 of the UK's finest engineers of that time. Included amongst them were jet engine visionary Sir Frank Whittle, design guru Sir Ova Arup, radar pioneer Sir George McFarland, and father of the UK computer industry Sir Maurice Wilkes. 36 years ago, in our founding year, the world was a very different place. The average house price was £12,000, and petrol was 76 pence per gallon. VHS video cassettes were launched by Matsushita. Apple was founded, and Microsoft Research registered its name for the first time. The first MRI scan took place. IBM launched its laser printer, and inkjet printers were invented. Viking 1 and Viking 2 landed on Mars, and the Space Shuttle Enterprise was unveiled. Your Royal Highness, ladies and gentlemen, just look at the technological progress since then. Just over 2 months ago, the Curiosity rover landed on Mars. Director of the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Dr. Charles Elashi, described this experience as 6 minutes of terror in his lecture at the Academy earlier this year. Not for the rover, I might add, but for the engineers and scientists back at base who had worked on the project for 10 years. 6 minutes was the time it took to slow 3 tons of engineering brilliance from 12,000 miles per hour to land it gently on the surface of the red planet, with its power source, motors, cameras, and scientific instruments intact and ready for its mission ahead. Equally impressive, but now almost totally taken for granted, is the fact that many people around the world could track its progress through the internet, Twitter, and digital TV. The same goes for our Olympics. Perhaps not terror, but there were many apprehensive and thrilling moments when the nation was glued to the edge of the sofa watching the live Olympic event of their choice through their interactive digital device, be it a laptop, an iPad, a smartphone, or plain television. And just over 3 decades on from 1976, we've moved from inkjets to 3D printing. Dr. Tom Enders, the Chief Executive of EADS, who gave the Academy's Hinton lecture earlier this month, estimated that 3D printing could reduce waste from 90% to just 5% in aerospace production. The savings will bring huge economic and environmental benefits and may change the nature of manufacturing. Today we talk much about the importance of engineering as an essential ingredient of growth. But when we say growth, we do not just mean economic growth. We mean growth in sustainability, growth in equality and diversity, growth in health and well-being, growth in the number of people with access to food and safe drinking water, growth in the quality of life. The Academy has also continued to grow since those early days of 1976 in both size and influence. We're now a fully fledged National Academy of some 1,500 fellows working in partnership with government, business, the engineering profession and our great universities. Our aim above all else is to ensure that engineering and the professional engineer is placed at the very heart of society. And in pursuit of that objective, the Academy has become a very outward-facing organisation. Great progress has already taken place, but there is so much work to do. It was Prime Minister Disraeli who coined the phrase, "Change is constant," and the path of growth is constantly changing. The world is never ending. As engineers, we must continue to generate growth, build a sustainable economy, increase the number and quality of engineers and engineering technicians, and attract many more women into the profession. And we need to ensure that we remain a globally competitive industrial nation. And we must achieve energy security whilst reducing consumption along with carbon emissions in both our homes and businesses. Engineering is, by its very nature, a collaborative profession. Indeed, the Academy works with many partners. BIS in the Department of Government and other government-related bodies, professional engineering bodies, our sister academies and industries, working together for common goals. And together, we can ensure that our formidable collective strengths are harnessed to create maximum impact. We can be more than the sum of our parts. Prince Philip House provides us with a national forum for engineering on which we can all come together and debate the issues that matter and project what professional engineers and every discipline contribute to society. And we hope that as engineers and engineering companies, you will consider this forum yours as much as ours. We now look to the future with great confidence. The central importance of engineering in our society, I believe, is being increasingly recognised and valued. Your Royal Highness, you have always been a passionate supporter of engineering and its contribution to the nation. You were instrumental in founding of this academy, nurturing support for it over an extended period. And indeed, if it were not for your determination to see a National Academy for Engineering in the UK, I do not believe that we would be here today. When the time came to decide what this building name should be, it was a very easy decision. Your Royal Highness, today it gives me a great opportunity on behalf of all our fellows to thank you for your unfailing commitment as a true champion for engineering, for the Academy, and for everything that it stands for. And I'm delighted that you have allowed us to acknowledge your vital contribution by naming this building Prince Philip House. And I now would like to hand over to our Chief Executive, Philip Greenish, who will speak briefly about Prince Philip House. Philip.
Senior Fellow, my lords, ladies and gentlemen, may I add my own welcome to those of the President on this very important occasion in the life of the Royal Academy of Engineering and of this fine building. After a long search during the presidencies of both Sir Den Davis and Lord Browers, the lease of this building was finally secured by Lord Brown in 2006, and we moved the Academy from Great Peter Street in 2007. From the outset, we had a very different vision for this building, which is now largely realised. We set out to create fine public spaces in which we would welcome people from across society to debate important issues and to explore and to be excited by engineering. And I hope you will find this when you see the exhibition on the ground floor today. But this building has had a checkered life. The terrace that we are in was designed by the great architect John Nash for private homes and is Grade 1 listed. Decimus Burton designed the interior of one of these two houses and also a small courtyard garden. On October the 15th, 1940, that's 72 years ago yesterday, it was badly damaged by bombs that landed next door. It was finally reinstated in the late 1960s, only to be badly damaged yet again, this time by fire, in 1989. And after that, it was very poorly restored, and it was in a very sorry state when this academy took it over. So we appointed Stephanie Fisher of Burrell Foley Fisher as our architect, and she set about redesigning it to meet our vision. Her design aimed to reinstate the scale and the grandeur of the original spaces in a modern but sympathetic style that was suitable for the Academy's use. In her words, they were to be calm, serene, and timeless, and flexible in use for meetings, for lectures, for receptions, and for exhibitions. As far as possible, the solutions adopted were to be energy efficient and sustainable. She also designed a signature garden entrance, which is our wheelchair access, which reflects Decimus Burton's original. Her success is, I believe, quite remarkable. The whole cost for this project had to be met through fundraising, and over the next 4 years, the full sum was raised through a campaign chaired by Sir John Parker before he took over the presidency. We established a project board, chaired initially by Sir Den Davis and then Dr. Paul Golby, that oversaw the preparations for the project and then the refurbishment itself. And we set up a project team led by Stephanie Fisher and Stuart Johnson, our project manager, together with Arup, Faithful and Gould, and our prime contractor, Knight Harwood. They started work in July 2011 and completed the project on time, under budget, and to a very high standard in April this year. Ladies and gentlemen, we owe a debt of gratitude to our campaign board, the project board, and our project team for this superb achievement. None of this would have been possible without the generosity of a very large number of people who are named on our donor board on the ground floor. You may also have noticed that our major rooms on this and the ground floor are now named. In this way, the Academy is honouring major donors who have supported the project and the Academy's wide-ranging work to bring engineering to the heart of society. So, if I may especially thank Rolls-Royce, the Kirby Lang Foundation, National Grid, Lord Sainsbury, whose Gatsby Foundation has been a huge supporter of the Academy's education work with young people for more than 2 decades, Lord Glendenbrook, the Wolfson Foundation, the ERA Foundation, whose transforming gift in 2004 gave the Academy the confidence to pursue its goal of finding this home, our past president, Lord Brown, whose gift made possible the garden entrance and the reception, the ruler of Sharjah, for whom these rooms are named the Al-Kazimi Rooms, Babcock and their apprentices, who built the stainless steel bridge in the garden, and finally one major donor who wished to remain anonymous, and others who do not wish their names to be published. Ladies and gentlemen, with your help and with the help of many, we've now completed this phase of the Academy's building development. But now we hope you will continue our journey with us, making this building come alive and putting engineering at the heart of society. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Philip. And in order to mark this special occasion, we will shortly be unveiling a portrait of the Duke of Edinburgh that was commissioned by the Academy Fellow, Dame Stephanie Shirley. And particular thanks go to Dame Stephanie not only for her generous financial support that made this commission possible, but for her judicious choice of artist in Paul Brason. Paul, perhaps I think I should invite you to stand so that you can be recognised before the painting's unveiled. Paul Brason was born not far from here in Kensington, and he now lives in Bath. He's a prize-winning portrait artist, and his work has been exhibited at the National Portrait Gallery and been selected many times for the Royal Academy Summer Exhibition. Your Royal Highness, it now gives me great pleasure to invite you to unveil the portrait and in so doing, name this building as Prince Philip House. And once the portrait has been unveiled, I'm sure you would like to say a few words to us. Thank you. I'm told that you and I must pull from both corners.
I haven't seen this.
No. Very good.
That's a daunting way to be received, isn't it? Well, first of all, thank you very much for your kind welcome, and to say how much I appreciate this invitation to inaugurate this great transformation. As you heard, the story begins in 1965, when I, out of the blue, was invited to be president of the Council of Engineering Institutions. It apparently suddenly dawned on people that the engineering profession had no central organization. It was entirely the institutions operating separately. And this was considered to be, or at least it turned out to be, the first step towards integrating a central body for engineers. And it really, without something like this, it would be impossible to develop a kind of coherent national policy. Anyway, after sort of discussing it with the prime movers and the people who I met as a result of joining the Council of Engineering Institutions, it struck me that an organization which consisted of the presidents and secretaries of the major engineering institutions would not be suitable to do for engineers what the Royal Society does for scientists. And apart from anything else, as you all know, most presidents of engineering institutions only serve for a single term, whereas the secretaries stay there all the time. So, in effect, the body was going to be run by the secretaries and not by the engineers. Well, the obvious answer was to try and form an organization or a body similar to the Royal Society. But it was not at all obvious how this might be achieved without upsetting the Royal Society by creating a body that might be seen as a rival. And furthermore, there were many people in the Royal Society who believed, well, we've made all the great engineers members of the Royal Society. Why on earth do you want another organization? The fact is that the engineers were always going to be in a minority in the Royal Society, and it's absolutely splendid that they're there. And we hope that there's some scientists here. So why not? And but it was also necessary for the initiative to be seen to come from this newly formed council. So it was eventually proposed that each of the members of the council of the institution should be invited to nominate their most distinguished members to join a sort of senate. And we hope that it would be seen as an offshoot of the council, and therefore no threat to the Royal Society or to the Council itself. Well, the word Senate, or the concept of Senate, was rejected as a title, and eventually the Fellowship of Engineering was chosen instead. And the Fellowship first met, as you heard, in Buckingham Palace in 1976, and was a very a dramatic occasion, I think. And as you all know, it didn't take long for it to develop into a really active, representative and independent body without posing a threat to anyone else. And the rate at which it grew and the strength which it demonstrated very early on, I think, was a clear indication that something like this was really seriously needed. And of course, the last act in the story was the change of the name to the Royal Academy of Engineering in 1992. And I think that this splendid building is ample proof, if anyone needed, that the Academy has been a huge success and is now serving a vital national purpose. And I naturally feel hugely honoured, flattered and delighted that this restructured headquarters is named after me. However, I have no hesitation in saying that without the beavering work of a number of senior engineers, neither the Academy nor this headquarters would have come into being. And I can only say that I wish the Academy, its fellows, and this building a prosperous and creative future.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Your Royal Highness. Now, ladies and gentlemen, do feel free at a later stage to come and have a closer look at this wonderful portrait. Following this event, the painting will be on permanent display in the room next door, the ERA Foundation Room, just the other side of the wall, for all fellows and visitors to see as they enter this theatre. Now, before we close the formal proceedings, I have one more person to invite to the stage to say a few words. And one of the Academy's key objectives is to inspire the next generation of great engineers who will become leaders in their fields. Dr. Eleanor Stride is one such individual, and Eleanor was awarded one of the Academy's prestigious research fellowships in 2005, and now leads her own research team at the University of Oxford, exploring drug delivery through engineered microbubbles. Therefore, it is my pleasure to invite Dr. Eleanor to the stage, and she's going to tell us something more about her research and the activities she has undertaken on behalf of the Academy. So welcome.
Thank you. Your Royal Highness, my Lords, Fellows, ladies and gentlemen, I am both honoured and delighted to be part of this special event today. I must confess to a moment of panic last week when I explained to a friend that I would be speaking this afternoon, and her response was, "What on earth are you going to say? You've never been near an engine." Now, just for the record, I have been near plenty of engines, but it is absolutely true that my research is not about producing cars, aeroplanes, or what might be regarded as conventional engineering structures. But it is about designing vehicles. Now, it just happens that the vehicles that I work with are a few hundredths of a human hair in diameter. They're designed to be injected into the body in order to deliver drugs more effectively and to minimize their side effects. But when it comes to designing these vehicles, what do we have to think about? We think about their structure, or their chassis, if they like. These tiny vehicles are actually very small bubbles of gas that contain a mixture of gas and liquid, depending on the temperature, and they're encapsulated in a solid shell, which we have to design. We have to worry about the payload space. We have to ensure each of these bubbles contains the correct amount of drug. Admittedly, these vehicles do not have an onboard engine, but we are driving them with a beam of ultrasound, so we need to design them to absorb power efficiently. And then there are the in-service conditions, the fluid dynamics of how they're transported through the bloodstream, the stresses that they're exposed to. We even have the equivalent of a crumple zone designed into our bubbles. So the process of designing, building, and testing our microbubbles is really not that different from the one you would employ for designing a car, a skyscraper, or even a space shuttle. It's all engineering. And it goes even wider than that. I had a summer job in an investment company. In my defence, I was only 15, this was pre-Enron. But I was introduced to someone, and he was introduced to me as a financial engineer. And in all innocence, I did say, how on earth can you engineer finance? But I've never forgotten his response, which was, if you need to be a successful engineer, you need a lot of technical knowledge and the creativity to apply it effectively. And I think that's a fabulous description of what engineering is. Because in essence, an engine is a device for solving a problem. And so engineering is a process that could be applied to almost anything. And to me, that is what is both unique and crucial about the Royal Academy of Engineering. It recognises, supports and celebrates that process. From blue skies academic research through to truly global engineering projects. On a personal level, I can't thank the Academy enough for the support it's given me. The 5-year research fellowship I was fortunate enough to be awarded gave me the freedom and the flexibility both to develop as a researcher in my own right and to go on to build up a fantastic team and a laboratory, first in London and now in Oxford. And in addition to a growing research portfolio, we've now just started a spin-out company with colleagues at Cambridge and in London to take forward our drug delivery technology for delivering antibiotics to try and overcome some of the issues with resistance for chronic infections in the urinary tract. But it goes even beyond that. When I started my fellowship, I certainly wouldn't have believed that I would find myself facing Jeremy Paxman, sharing a sofa with Professor Brian Cox, or having breakfast at the Science Museum discussing bubbles with the Prime Minister. In terms of promoting engineering and engineers, I can't think of an institution in the world that does more. So I would like to end by thanking the Academy once again for everything that it's done for me and for engineering, and to end with the words, not of an engineer, but of a writer, James A. Michener, but who I think sums up what the Academy stands for. Scientists dream of doing great things. Engineers do them.
Well, Eleanor, a very sincere thank you. A great example of a brilliant young engineer. Now, Your Royal Highness, ladies and gentlemen, I now officially welcome you all to Prince Philip House and our National Forum for Engineering. I hope you'll all enjoy this afternoon's celebrations, the exhibits down below, and of course meeting old friends and making new acquaintances. But before you leave this room, I think it might be rather nice to invite Paul to the platform and perhaps, as our artists say, just a few words about, not about the sittings, that might be too risky, but in fact just to say something about the enjoyment you've had in painting this portrait.
Your Royal Highness, my lords, ladies and gentlemen, fellows of the Academy, I haven't come with anything prepared. I certainly couldn't follow what's been said today, and I'm very pleased that I was given a brief about what I couldn't say. So this will be extremely brief. The question that probably a lot of people want to ask is, why on earth have you chosen to paint His Royal Highness like that? Well, the answer is that I felt very much that I wanted to produce something which I believe is a cornerstone of portraiture, really, and that is it has to be a recognizable likeness. It also, that may seem an odd thing to say, but I think it has to be said at this day and age. The other important thing I wanted to try and do was to try and create something which was both traditional and encapsulated something of what I've recently just come to know is the inquiring, forward-looking freshness that this Academy seems to be bringing to engineering. So I won't comment on that much further, other than I feel a great sense of privilege to have been allowed to be a small part of that. Thank you.
Sorry for springing that on you, Paul, but I thought it was much too good an opportunity to miss. The rest will be in your memoirs, no doubt. But thank you all very much for being with us, and now it's time to just go our two separate entrances down to the ground floor and enjoy each other's company and have a relaxing time together. So thank you all very much indeed for being with us. Thank you.
It's a standard design, you've got all the parts of it.
So they've now got it's an unusual